Hey folks, this is Kelani. One of the most important milestones in classic World of Warcraft is buying your first mount, but it's a lot of gold for level 40, so much so that many people don't get their mounts until halfway to 50, or sometimes even later. It can be really hard saving up enough gold, especially if you need to train a lot of your rank ups and new abilities as you level, but there are some really quick, easy and efficient ways to make some good gold right now, but it's not going to last. Let's have a look at what you can do to earn some extra gold for your first mount, or whatever else you want to be spending gold on these days. Now the first thing I want to show you is something that can help you get more gold out of pretty much anything you're selling, as long as it's on the auction house. You may have noticed that the auction house in Classic doesn't really provide you with any great sorting options. Now if you're looking for a level 23 dagger that's at least uncommon with whatever stats you're looking for, it can do that pretty well, but it won't give you a particularly good order for the price of any goods you're looking for. If you search for silk cloth, you can see some absurdly expensive stacks on the first page, which might seem a bit odd and backwards, and even if you want to get to a good deal, you might have to scroll through 5 pages or more of silk cloth. Now, not only is this not really super intuitive, but it also makes it seem like the better deals are the first ones you see. Like, most people will go for, alright, I need this item and I'm probably going to buy the one on the first page because obviously that's the best deal, right? And even if it's not, do I really want to go through all of these pages to figure out what this item is actually worth and do all of the math myself to see if a stack is worth buying or just buying the ones on the first page? I don't know. Which is where we're going to make some gold, because sadly, people are a bit lazy. And that's kind of what we're going to take advantage of. Typically, they might go for 1 or 2 pages, and if they don't know how much the silk is actually worth right now, they might buy some of the expensive stacks without even realizing they're overpaying quite significantly because they don't want to do the research themselves to figure out what some good deals actually are. Now, I'm not saying that you should plop up your stuff for 5 times the actual value and expect it to sell just because it's on the front page, but you might be able to squeeze a little more silver out of everything you're selling. Let me show you how this works, how you can use it to your advantage, and how to avoid it when buying goods for yourself. So first things first, don't pay more than what you need to for goods you're looking for. Get yourself an auction add-on because it's the only way to sort by buyout price in Classic WoW. I use Auctionator and it does the job perfectly. You can use TSM or Auctioneer if that's working in Classic. Honestly, anything that allows you to sort by buyout price, because that's the key missing feature for the default auction house experience. Being able to sort items like this means you always get the best price available, regardless of how people try to screw with their bid values. Alright, so how do we screw with the bid values to get our stuff sold higher than it's currently listed for? It's pretty simple really. The auction house sorts by bid by default. It doesn't include the buyout whatsoever. It basically is useless information. So an item that has a bid value of 1 silver but a buyout of 50 silver will always show ahead of an item that has a 5 silver buyout but a 4 silver bid, even though obviously one is 10 times more expensive. If you have 100 of the items listed for 50 silver and one of them listed for 5 silver, it might look like the item is actually worth 50 silver instead of 5, and a lot of people might just buy the 50 silver item because it's on the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th page. So the bid value is how you manipulate the order in which items are shown, and the earlier an item is shown on the default auction house, the more likely someone is to buy it, almost regardless of price. If you want to move something quickly but still get a really good price for it, mark your bid lower than the lowest bid on the front page, and make sure your buyout isn't too crazy that someone will immediately write it off, but still high enough to make a good profit. I've sold so many items this way, especially stacks of items, because seeing a stack on the first page is always so tempting to just snatch up, because scrolling through page after page of singles is a major pain in the rear. Obviously, only people not using an add-on to view buyout prices will fall for this kind of thing, which is why we're always going to use an add-on to save ourselves money. So knowing how the auction house sorts items can make you a good chunk of change no matter what you're doing, but there are some incredibly reliable methods to make gold right now. The first set of these is perfect for anyone who wants to make gold without having to wait for auctions to sell. There are so many recipes and patterns that you can create right now that will yield a good return on investment by simply vendoring the product. That means you buy the stuff you need, make the items, and just flog them away at the nearest vendor. No variable pricing, no auction house cut, no waiting for items to sell. It's basically just printing gold, or silver for the most part. One of the best examples of this type of shuffle is the silk bandages. Crafting a silk bandage, or heavy silk bandages if you can, will allow you to turn one silk cloth into 2 silver pieces. That might not sound like a fantastic deal, but you can get silk cloth pretty cheap right now on most servers. The good old spell-cleaving farms of Scarlet Monastery are flooding the auction house with silk. I've seen people selling it below the vendor price, if you can believe it, so you should be able to get a good amount of silk below 2 silver each that you can turn into pure profit. If you can't find any on the auction house for a decent price, you might be able to pick some up in trade chat. Anyone coming back from dungeon farming or leveling could be stocked up on silk, looking to get rid of it quickly. Whenever I'm in Stormwind for any length of time, I spam trade, buying silk cloth stacks for 35 silver. After turning a stack of silk into bandages, it's worth 40 silver, so each stack I manage to buy yields 5 silver of profit. It might not seem like that much initially, but it definitely adds up pretty quickly, especially when you can craft bandages while waiting for quest mobs to respawn, or waiting for boats, or pretty much any time you sat there thinking, I wish I had something to do while waiting. The great part is anyone can pick up first aid, and as long as people are leveling and farming and cloth is coming into the game and the economy, prices should stay low enough for this to work. You just have to grab the cheap cloth before everyone else. Another great item that I've been making a good chunk of gold from is the Greater Magic Wands from enchanting. These have been very lucrative for a while now. You can make anywhere from 5 to 10 silver per wand you craft if you get a bit lucky and you're patient. The key is the Greater Magic Essences. Essentially, a Greater Wand sells for 15 silver 35 copper to a vendor. You need 1 essence and 1 simple wood. The wood costs about 40 copper from the enchanting vendor depending on your reputation. So if you can get an essence for less than 15 silver, you can sell the wand to a vendor for a small profit. You can usually sell the wand on the auction house from anywhere between 15 and 20 silver, but that's going to depend on your server. I usually put up a few around 20 silver and vendor the rest, but it depends on what I pay for the essences. I've picked up essences from the auction house as low as 9 silver, which is a very tasty profit if I sell the wand for 19 or 20 silver sometime later. I'll buy up any essence between 10 and 14 silver most of the time, anything cheaper as well, because either way you look at it, you're going to make a profit. If it's 1 silver profit or 10 silver profit, I mean, it's still money in your pocket really, isn't it? It's also a great way to level your enchanting for free for the 40 or so levels that you can level up from Greater Magic Wands at any rate. So if you're looking to be an enchanter, go look for your Greater Magic Essences on the auction house, and if you just want some gold, get your enchanting up to the point where you can make them, and you might be able to turn a very tidy profit. If you want to go one step further than that, you can buy cheap cloth or leather, especially linen, wool, maybe a little bit of silk, craft cheap green recipes, disenchant them and turn those into essences either to sell or turn them into wands to vendor and sell on the auction house. That does take a bit longer though, and honestly I don't think you can beat the price of a 10 silver Greater Magic Essence by doing any kind of shuffle, so if those are available on the auction house, swipe them all up before anyone else can get their hands on them. Cooking is a profession that might surprise you too. This one is a little slower, the profit margins are a little lower than some of the others, but you can still make a silver or 2 depending on the auction house prices. You want to look for recipes that only require 1 ingredient besides the spices, and the result sells for a good chunk of silver. Some sell for 1 silver, those aren't super ideal but they can make you a profit. Others sell for 3 silver, those can be really good if you snag the meat for 1 silver or less. Things like roast raptor. vendor, which only needs 1 raptor flesh plus the typical spice. If you can buy the flesh for 1 silver or less, you make about 1.5 silver per batch of roast you make, because the spice will set you back about 40 copper from a vendor. It's small things like this which can really add up quickly. If you pick up a stack of raptor meat on the cheap, you can make 20 or 30 silver in no time flat. I still think the silk bandages are probably the best quick gold right now, but as more and more people see the potential there, I think we'll see less cloth become available, or at least it'll get spread around a bit too thinly. As people move past Scarlet Monastery, the amount of silk being pumped into the economy will also start to dwindle, so get at it while you can. So those are some of the items that work typically very well, but you can look at literally any crafting recipe you have and add up the cost of the parts versus the price of the finished product. If the finished product sells on the auction house for more than the sum of its parts, fantastic, but you have to be careful. You need to consider the auction house cut. If the item doesn't sell, you lose the deposit. You might never even sell the item at all, but if the item's vendor price is higher than what it costs to craft, you're pretty much laughing. You don't ever have to worry about losing your investment, you just need to craft the item and sell it to a vendor, which, by the way, if you don't have it already, go get the add-on called vendor price, or any other add-on which displays the vendor price of an item in the tooltip, because that's not available without an add-on and it's incredibly important. I bet all of those chaps putting up silk cloth for lower than the vendor price just didn't have an add-on for the vendor price, so they didn't even know the actual vendor price and they thought they might have been getting a good deal. I think most of this stuff isn't going to last too long, and that's simply because of how many people are playing right now. There's so much supply of pretty much every material at the moment, but especially the lower level stuff. Copper, linen, wool, silk, light and medium leather, all of the early herbs, it's all being pumped into the auction house because everyone is leveling. As soon as people make it past certain brackets, like right now I'm pretty sure the majority of players are starting to hit level 30, as that massive wave of people moves past level 13 into the 40s, we're probably going to see materials like mage weave cloth start to reduce in price as well, because everyone will be trying to get rid of it for any decent price they can get. Hopefully a decent price for them is low enough for savvy investors like us to make a bit of profit off of it, whether that's from selling items we create on the auction house or just throwing them away at a vendor. So if the silk stuff disappears or the magic essences start to get too expensive, don't fret. Just look for the cheapest raw materials on the auction house and see if you can do anything with them. The next free gold craft might be mage weave bandages or mage weave gear or leather gear from heavy leather. Maybe some of the higher level cooking recipes that use some incredibly common meat. Honestly, if you can find anything even remotely close to its vendor price on the auction house, you can probably turn it into some real profit. Keep an eye out and be sure to get one of those auction house add-ons to guarantee you're getting the best prices every time you're going to buy something. If you're struggling to find some decent deals, I find early in the morning and late at night tend to work best, especially late at night. It seems like everyone dumps their goods on the auction house, hoping for a mailbox full of gold when they wake up. I also seem to notice that weekends are a bit wonky, so if things seem really expensive on the weekends, maybe just wait until the weekdays are passing through and then things should start to even out a little bit. But for the most part, if you can get on decently late, that's usually when I see the best deals and the most opportunity for flipping shuffles like this. It's looking very likely that both my wife and I will be paying for our level 40 mounts with the silk bandages, the greater magic wands, and whatever else we get from questing along the way. But that's all I wanted to share with you in this video. If I come upon any other super awesome gold mines that are easy to exploit, I'll be sure to let you know. How much gold do you have right now in Classic World of Warcraft? Do you think you'll be able to afford your mount right when you hit level 40? Or do you think you'll need a few more levels after that to save up just a little bit more gold? Leave all your thoughts in the comments section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.